Monday, 6th of September 2021. Look at the lovely, lovely, luscious stinging nettles. Huge size as well. They've grown up. They're really doing well this year. I heard that you can make stinging nettle soup. Maybe somebody can look it up and see, because these are organic and it would be good to make soup. The rose bay willow herb is doing well. It is still flowering. Apparently, as I said in another blog some months ago, that this was the first plant to grow on the bomb sites in London after the war. First plant, rose bay willow herb. Might be worth checking what this plant does. The pond is low, but that is not surprising because it hasn't rained for at least it hasn't rained since I was here. Our last time was on the 25th of August and it hasn't rained. So, but there is still enough water for the insects and for the dragonflies. There are plenty of dragonflies because there are no insects. Otherwise, we would have been bitten by now because of the water, and but they have been eaten, so that's something. In April, this area will have lots and lots of lovely primroses, yellow wild primroses. The colored varieties that you get are obviously cultivated, but the natural primrose in the British forests, British woods, is yellow. And if you go back to my blogs of April 2020, you will see lots and lots of primroses doing very well. They have multiplied because of the insects. Thanks to the pond, we have lots of insects, so they needed pollination. 20 years ago, there were only about 4 or 5 specimens of the natural yellow primroses, original primroses. But now, if you go back and look at it, there are loads and loads, purely because they have been pollinated and seeded and naturally seeded. These are hazelnut trees, quite a few of them, wild hazelnuts. But the squirrels get to the hazelnuts before humans can get to the hazelnuts, unless you cover them with some sort of cover, plastic, net cover really. But that doesn't happen, so never get any hazelnuts. Except you see on the ground the leftover husks of the hazelnuts, which the squirrels have deposited on the ground. There is a beautiful view of 2 trees. These are oak trees. Please do go out into the countryside and breathe in the fresh air, even if it is for 20 minutes. I find that it does make a difference, mental and physical well-being. Plus, I've heard that, and read as well, that the chemicals that the trees give out to protect themselves from insects and various viruses, we breathe them into our lungs and they help us protect against various viruses. So it is a win-win relationship. It is around 4 o'clock on September the 6th. The temperature is actually 27 degrees Celsius. There is haze, but the temperature is still 27 Celsius and the sun is trying to shine. And here is another view of the pond, so there is plenty of water. This is where I find the animals tend to come down and have a drink. Here is another tree that was uprooted some years ago when the wind really came through the wood, and it then landed on another tree and made an arch. And it is beautiful to see how it has survived. It's still got its roots in the ground. The other tree right next to it was not touched. And these are oak trees. This one definitely, these two are oak trees. But the sculpture they make is better than anything we can make. Having said that, I was in London, Victoria, on Saturday. So that must have been the 4th of September. And I saw the buildings in London which were being built in January 2020 with lots and lots of cranes and workers. They have now been completed and they are so amazing. They taper, no two sides are the same. You just can't believe that human mind can plan such buildings. I walked around the streets around Victoria just to look at the new buildings. It was a beautiful day, warm as well, about 18 or 19 Celsius. And then we went to see the play, The Windsors, the Endgame, which was very funny. Wouldn't be allowed on television, very irreverent. But it was worth seeing that. And there was no social distancing, which I was quite pleased about. Though they changed the air in the theatre and the bathrooms have been upgraded. They're much bigger. Taps are, you don't have to touch the taps. And very, very, clean, and obviously a lot of money has been spent on that. Once the temperature drops, October, November, all these trees will lose their leaves and you will be able to see right across to the other side. But at this moment it's quite hard. It is maximum growth now because it is September. They are still growing. The temperature is right for growing, but it is getting ready for winter. Here is the same tree from another angle. And what amazes me is that when the wind comes, it gets some trees. Look at the huge tree, and yet the tree next to it is unscathed. And this one would have lost its life really, but it fell on the other tree, and so the roots are still in the ground and it is still alive, making a beautiful arch. These are two barbed wires. Well, the bottom one is not barbed, the top one definitely is barbed. And there was a fence here, but it has, one half the fence has gone. But before it went, the tree has grown round the barbed fence and the other one. And the fence now stands because it is attached to the tree. Amazing what nature does and is capable of doing, as long as we look after it. Here is the other end of the fence. Again, this has grown and the tree has healed round the fence, just like we heal with a blister on top and the bottom as well, but it is holding up the fence. Another creeper has grown and grown along the fence, and the creeper just uses the tree to grow up it and then grows along the fence. Amazing nature. As long as we look after it, it cannot take too much damage happening. Slow damage it can put up with and can heal itself, but fast damage it cannot heal. This part is called dreamwood because when the sunlight, when the sun sets, the sunlight streams through the trees, and it is a place one can dream and imagine and play. So it is just absolutely amazing place. So this is dreamwood. I don't know if you can see, but the farmer has baled the crop on the other side. The other side is over 100 acres, and he is a very diligent farmer. He was working when I arrived, but he's obviously stopped for the day. The ragwort is doing well here. The two butterflies are collecting the nectar from the ragwort. The ragwort is poisonous to horses, but not to the cinnabar moth, or obviously not to these butterflies. Amazing spectacle. Here is a close-up view of the butterflies. They fly away but come back, so obviously it has a lot of nectar. You can see its position. It is right in the sun, so obviously there is a lot of food for the butterflies. Here are the light purple flowers that I showed you last time. They're still doing well. Obviously have a lot of nectar in them because some of them are covered in insects, flying insects. This has turned into seeds, so it will seed itself. But these plants tend to congregate where it suits. The soil is right and the sun is right and the water is right. So you have beds of these beautiful, beautiful purple flowers. These are wildflowers. The grass is growing all right, which is nice. It's a nice sunny day. On the way back I might go out in there and take another view. This pond has lost a lot of water, but still there is enough for the animals and for the insects and for the larvae that will be laid ready for the eggs that will be laid ready for next cycle of the various insects and dragonflies and so on. Need to, if you look at the top, need to remove some trees because the sunlight is not getting down. The way to see whether you got enough sunlight is to look up, not look down. And looking up, I can see that tree needs to be taken out, and those in the front need to be taken out in winter, from November onwards really. Well, I shall keep you updated. These are mushrooms which you can barely see against the camouflage of the ground. And here is another one. Obviously it is rather, what shall I say, dry for them. But when the spores must have been sent out. And it is worth looking up how mushrooms grow in the forest, in the wood. As somebody said, you can always eat a mushroom once. In other words, they are poisonous. Best to eat mushrooms from supermarkets and not to eat them from the wood, even if you know what they are. This is hornbeam trunk, this tree, and it is quite smooth bark, as you can see, quite a smooth bark, but very hardwood, good hardwood. No rain, and you can see it's so dry. As you walk, the soil rises in the wind. There isn't any wind or breeze, but just the breeze from walking, the soil is rising. Very, very dry. These are yellow toadstools or mushrooms, and they blend with the leaves that fall around them. You have to go very close to them, and I'll put my finger and you can see. I won't touch it. Twice my finger, 3 times my finger. This is a bracken ride, not to be confused with ferns, which are also here, but this is bracken. And it used to be kept down by having cattle here, but cattle need more care. Also, they need to be highly intensive. They need to be looked after. So there are no cattle. But there is lovely bracken. As you can see on both sides, it's a horse ride, and the bracken are on both sides. The grass is absolutely beautiful and delicious for some herbivore. Gorgeous color. It is the color that looks in the video. So this is the bracken horse ride. The bracken is brown because it is so dry. Some places it is green, as you can see, but due to the dry summer, it's very, very brown. There is just a little bit of water here. Rest of the stream, as you can see, has dried. So all the insects and invertebrates that live in there have burrowed in. Still damp. It is supposed to rain Thursday, Friday, 50% chance of rain. If it does happen, then that would help. But still there is enough water and dampness for these poor creatures to survive. Amazing what the life cycle is of these creatures.